You're listening to Technado. Welcome to another episode of Technado. I'm Sophie Goodwin, one of your hosts. And really quick, I want to thank the sponsor of Technado, ACI Learning, the folks behind IT Pro. Just a reminder that you can use that discount code Technado30 on your IT Pro membership. Once again, I am Sophie. Looking forward to jumping into this week's tech news. I know we definitely have some throwback pieces, so I'm looking forward to this. Don, how are you feeling?
I am feeling good. You know, we had the big tech conference last week, and so several vendors have been pushing out new technology. So we have a couple of new devices to talk about today. Not a ton, but you know, there's some neat stuff that's out there. And then we have our standard cybersecurity world, which is a giant dumpster fire. So keeps us busy.
Can you attest to that, Daniel? Is it a giant dumpster fire?
Oh, we just keep pouring gas on it, so it won't stop. Just how it goes.
Just kerosene-soaked rags. Just toss them in.
If you're ever against fossil fuels, this would be the issue that might get you there.
Well, you have been warned. We cannot be held liable for any of that.
Yeah. By the way, that's just a marvel to how Don and I at least, reached 7th grade and stopped maturing.
Yes. Yeah.
I like that he excluded me from that. I do appreciate that, but you're giving me a little too much credit.
You got to at least an 8th.
Well, that's just because I was homeschooled, so I had a little bit of extra time. Yeah, it was bound to happen. We'll go ahead and jump into the news that we have this week before we get too far off the rails. This first one comes to us from Ars Technica. A detachable Lenovo laptop is 2 separate computers, runs Windows and Android. All right, so
it's like the king. It's like the king laptop.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have like a Surface that's like detachable. So when I first saw this, I was like, oh, well, this is nothing new. I've seen laptops like this, but two separate computers. That's interesting.
Yeah. So they went an interesting route. Like you said, Sophie, we have seen computers where the monitor would detach, and now it was a tablet, which just meant that they took the CPU and hard drive and all that and stuck it up in the monitor instead of in the base. Makes you wonder what all is in the base, but that's what they did. But in this case, Lenovo went a different angle. And they said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to make the display a full-blown Android tablet. So it's going to have an ARM processor in it, its own memory, its own storage. It is going to be a standalone tablet. We're going to make a laptop base, keyboard, touchpad, speakers, and all that, Intel processor, SSD, that runs Windows. And when you snap the monitor into the base, well, you see the Windows screen and that Windows computer. But when you pop the tablet off, now the tablet flips into Android mode, and you're looking at that. And the base of the laptop, you can actually hook it up to a monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and it's still a functioning computer. So it really is 2 computers. It's an Android tablet and a Windows half top or half laptop, or whatever you want to call it, crop top.
Your crop top.
It's a crop top. And
it's a halter top.
You stick them together like Voltron or something, and all of a sudden you have a laptop.
Now the Voltron song is in my head. Thank you.
Interesting.
Dun, da, da, da.
Yeah.
Well, the price on this definitely aligns with the fact that it's 2 computers. I just looked it up.
$9,000.
It looks like the Surface Book right now goes for a little over $1,000, or at least the ones that I'm seeing. And this is $2,000 because you are paying for the 2 separate computers. So not a cheap price tag on that.
Any kind of like details on whether or not these 2 things talk to each other in some way, shape, or form?
So there's obviously some gray area here and some marketing speak or whatever, but allegedly, when you plug the screen into the base, so you put it in, the Lions combine, and you get the laptop mode, because everybody knows the car Voltron sucked. This is the Lion one, and they combine. You get the Windows screen is what's displayed up on the tablet, but the Android system is still running in the background, and the base is able to remote in to view the apps that are running on Android. So it looks like the Android apps are running on your Windows instance, but they're actually just being remotely displayed. Now, they didn't really describe how that's working. You know, is it networking over a USB-C connection through the dock, or is it a wireless connection, or whatever?
Is it like some weird built-in Wi-Fi AP that only they talk to, or
maybe?
Yeah.
You know, you see that
Bluetooth.
like Roku remote controls with that weird network that they make that's part Bluetooth, part Wi-Fi, and all that that throws off all your security scans.
Do like a network capture of your home if you've got any kind of Rokus, and you're like, what the hell is all of this?
Yeah, they don't follow the rules.
Yeah.
So Lenovo's trying something new, and I can get kind of excited about stuff like this. It seems like a neat idea, but I can tell you what would happen with me is this is going to be a not popular device. They're not going to sell a lot of these, if they ever sell it at all, right? Sometimes these never actually make the market.
It doesn't make any sense.
So, well, that aside, for me, let's pretend that I had this laptop in front of me right now, right? And I pop that display off. Now I got a sweet tablet.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, tablets get dropped, get scratched, and so on. So I'm going to want a screen protector on it, but I won't be able to buy that because they're going to sell 100 of these. And that's it, right? Or I want to put a case on it, but
So it's two things put together that nobody wants together, right? I want my tablet and I want a laptop. I don't care about turning my laptop into a tab. So, and if you're like, you know what, it'd be really convenient right now is if my laptop was a tablet, then you've got those like, Lenovo Flexes or whatever, and they just kind of fold over the back and everything's there and you go into tablet mode and you're having a great time. It's fine. I've got one there. It works great. It's a little hefty, but other than that, I don't use it that way a whole lot. But when I need it that way, it works great. I do it and then I fold it back as a laptop. Because what I want is a laptop, right? Because that's what I do most of my stuff on. If I needed just a tablet, guess what? I bought a tablet.
Yeah.
They are priced low enough where you just buy the device and call it a day.
And then it's not a huge, massive screen. I don't want, I'm not an iPad Pro guy or whatever, where I need this massive, full screen thing because I'm not using it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
If I did like that tablet form, I probably would buy an iPad Pro and get the connected screen, the keyboard, and try and call it a day. I don't understand the purpose of this.
Yeah. Did you ever have a Asus transformer?
I did not.
Okay, so a million years ago, I had one of these.
Was that when the thing with the phone went in the back, right? What was that?
No, that was
the
pad phone.
Pad phone. That's what it was.
Phone pad.
Phone pad.
The pad phone. But the transformer was neat because it was an Android tablet, which Android tablets are totally not popular, right? So they're already like a dead market basically. But it was an Asus Android tablet, and then it had a whole keyboard clamshell that it snapped into.
Yeah.
And the keyboard, they needed to make it heavy so it would hold the tablet up. And the way they did that was that the keyboard, it had the keyboard, a touchpad, and it was all battery, massive battery, which was awesome because
it's nice. You dock it and
you could run for days.
Yeah.
And it would charge the tablet. And I loved that thing.
Yeah.
And just repeatedly, Google has not done a good job maintaining tablet support. And so it quickly got to where it wasn't getting updates anymore and I had to get rid of it. I only got rid of it because I couldn't get newer versions of Android on it. And that was years ago. Love that thing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Right?
But it's like you said, it was one device. It wasn't two devices. It was one, and you could put it into a clamshell mode if you wanted.
Maybe I'm just being too myopic or nearsighted or whatever you want to say that I don't see the obvious advantage of having this device, but I don't obviously see what the advantages of having this device is.
Yeah. When y'all started talking about this is pointless, it was a little bit of a relief for me because sometimes y'all you cover stuff like this and I'm thinking in my head when would anybody ever use this? And then you start talking about, oh, this is great for people that do such and such. And I'm like, oh, well, duh, of course, now that you mention it. And in this case, I don't ever see, I don't do a lot of the highly technical stuff that you guys do. I just don't see somebody like me using something like this to its full capacity. If I wanted something where I could detach the top and use it as a tablet or whatever, I would just get a Surface Book because when am I ever going to plug that keyboard into a monitor and, oh, now I've got a separate screen? It's a lot of work for a lot of money that I really just don't need it.
Yeah.
Oh, we should probably make a whole new segment called Technado shits on blank. Where we pick something, we're like, this is completely useless. Tear it apart.
It's neat to see Lenovo do this. Samsung has done a few weird things over the years. The Samsung DeX.
Oh, yeah.
Where you could hook it up to a monitor and keyboard. You could drop your phone in it and bam, you'd get a full-size desktop with mouse and keyboard and so on. It was a neat idea.
It came in handy once in a while.
And it was just inconvenient enough that you didn't want to use it.
Right.
Because you had to have it at home or you had to take it with you on a trip and you weren't going to take it with you. And
you mean the little thing. You could still use DeX without having that dock station.
Oh, yeah, if you had the right cables.
It was just USB-C cable. You just plug it in and DeX just runs. Yeah. So, yeah, that little thing was just nice. Because you would have it sitting on and you would just dock your phone.
Yeah.
And that would be what's up. But no, you could just plug in with a regular USB-C cable and DeX would just pop up. I used it here a couple times at ACI for demonstrating mobile X, Y, or Z thing. And it was really nice because that was easier than trying to do a screencast or whatever the case is.
I used it this one time when I was arrested and they put me in a hotel and all I had was my phone and a fire stick. Yep, and that was it. It was nice.
Yeah, really. I liked it.
Somebody in the comments raised the point, that I really like the specs, but let's see how the battery life is, and that's what'll really sell me on it.
Yeah.
Poop Skunk says that it's an utterly clownish product. I thought you might enjoy that. Yeah, that's the name he's chosen.
Do you
Utterly
think a
clownish
skunk's
product.
poop stinks worse than...
Probably not,
Yeah.
right?
Like, these are two things, like, you put two stinky things together, sir, madam, whatever you might be.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that was a mistake. But yeah, generally it seems like the
7th grade,
comments.
I told you.
The comments on this article, it's pretty much are in agreement here. I'm sure there'll be maybe somebody that comments on this video in disagreement and says that I'm stupid for saying what I said. I'm curious if you have any opinions on this, and if you can think of it like, no, this would be perfect for this, and it's filling this gap. Please let us know, because obviously we're kind of, there's a consensus here that who's going to use this?
Yeah, we're struggling.
We're struggling.
Somebody's going to take that literally and say like, oh, filling a gap. Yeah, my washing machine is not level and it fills the gap right beneath that one leg.
I think we have actually got an article on a washing machine in a little bit, but we won't jump to that just yet. That was a little foreshadowing on Don's part. We'll head into our next article here. We're pulling this one from Slashdot. It says Chicago Public Schools lost over $20 million in electronics in 1 year.
It's
So
school's detachable electronics.
It's supposedly, yeah. It seems like some people think they're detachable. So is this like a theft issue?
I wouldn't go so far to say theft. I'm sure some of it is, right? But let's understand the scope of this. So schools today are way different than when I was in school. We are a technology-enabled society, and so many schools issue out Chromebooks or iPads or full-blown laptops to their students as a part of their education. And Chicago Public Schools gave out over $127 million in hardware last year to their students, right? Kudos to them. Students get assigned a laptop, they can take it home, do their homework on it, bring it back to school and use it. That's phenomenal. When I was in school, each classroom had one Apple, like an Apple IIc or something. Yeah, 2E maybe. And that was it. And I got to use it maybe once a month. and you just played Oregon Trail. And that was it.
That was the only thing.
So
waiting to die of dysentery.
It's going to happen.
That's it.
So, nice to see that students have access to a lot more because, hey, when they get out in the workforce, they're going to need those computer skills no matter what career they go into. So that's all positive, right? But they have a budget deficit this year, and so they had auditors start to take a look and see what's going on. And one area where they got dinged is over $20 million of that equipment that went out. So practically a fifth or 20% of that hardware never came back. That just got marked as lost or stolen, right? So it's gone, and that's that. And so we don't know, were the 6th graders taking it down to the pawn shop and pawning the laptop, or did they legitimately get lost because they're kids, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you've met kids. They are famous for losing expensive things or breaking it.
I'm sure some of them got sat on or dropped in a pool or whatever.
Speaking of the old, that phone pad or whatever it was, isn't that what happened to it?
Mine got sat on. Yeah. It did. Yep. Not by me, but,
but your child.
Yeah. So not in Chicago, at least. So I got that going for me. But the rest of that
where you
story
bought
is
it.
true.
It was a Chicago school. He was like, let me borrow that.
So they started digging into it, saying like, what the heck? How can we lose a fifth of our hardware? That seems a little on the high side. You expect attrition. You expect hardware to die, but I don't think it's unreasonable to expect to get a couple of years out of hardware. The school had spent over $20 million. No, sorry, not over $20 million. They had spent several $1 million on software to be able to track these devices, to keep track of where they are. Turns out they weren't using it. They bought the software, they installed it, and they just didn't use it.
Well, that makes sense.
And as they dug in deeper, they found where if you reported a device as stolen or lost, there was no negative repercussion. And so they would just say, all right, hey, you lost your laptop. Here's your new one. And that was it. And so nobody really felt like accountability or responsibility. And so, they're losing 1 out of 5.
Welcome to the modern world.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
You just do whatever you want.
And this is just Chicago Public Schools where we've got numbers because of the audit, but I bet it's a similar situation across the country.
Guarantee it. Because I know people that work in school systems, and I remember them having like brand new laptops, like nice ones or iPads and stuff. Like, where'd you get this? Oh, well, the school issued it to us. I'm like, why?
Yeah.
And they're like, because we need something to work on. I go, yeah, no, I get it. Like, but you have a laptop and $1,000 iPad. What's up? She's, oh yeah, we give them to students too. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? That seems like a mistake.
Yeah.
But if we don't use that money, we won't get it again.
Makes total
And
sense.
there you go.
Total
There
sense.
you go.
It is interesting now that because this has become kind of the norm in schools is for kids to either have Chromebooks or some kind of a tablet.
Yeah.
Even though most teachers are like, we don't want you having your phone or any kind of device in the classroom. Like they're banned, keep them away. If I see it, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the stuff is done online, you kind of need a device all of the time. So I guess maybe they lock them down and make it so you can't access certain stuff. But like, I can goof off just as much on a computer as I can on my phone.
Well,
so
you can boot a Chromebook into developer mode and then get full access to Linux inside of it, and then you can start doing a lot of things.
I was just thinking more from an end user perspective, just goofing around on like Pop Tropica or something. But that too, yeah. If you've got like a child prodigy,
You do you.
hey, I'm not gonna put
Listen,
limits
it's
on.
a Google search away. How to unlock my Google Chromebook.
Now, you mentioned child prodigies. I think if there's one thing we've learned about these hackers is that many of them are child
That's true.
prodigies. Yeah.
Got a couple
It's
Goodwill
absolutely
Huntings in
true.
Chicago. They're just waiting to
Yeah.
unlock their Chromebook.
Listen, kids get real curious, especially
right.
when you like. What did Samuel Clemens say? The most powerful word in the English language is no, right? And you say no, you can't, and they go, can't I though?
Yeah.
I mean, I get to take it home. It's mine, and if I mess it up, I'll just be like, oh, Miss So and So, my Chromebook broke. It won't boot now. And they go, okay, here's another one. Cool. Let me try something else.
Yeah.
They don't care. They're kids. They don't understand the the consequences and repercussions of the things that they do. That's why we don't let them, vote and drive cars and drink beer.
Fair. Yeah.
They still do those things, obviously, and we usually regret those decisions quite often, which is why we tell them, don't do that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now,
absolutely.
I do want to say, just so people are clear on this, I think people should be responsible for the equipment that they're issued, but these are kids, and I don't think it makes sense to say like, oh, you lost your laptop, now you got to pay for it.
Oh, of course.
But certainly if the school district has tracking software,
use the stinking thing.
they should be using that. And if a laptop is reported as stolen, they need to be filing a police report. Like they need to do those things, right? I'm not saying blame the kid. I don't think it's fair to expect a 10-year-old to be responsible for a laptop.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it, like at least try and be respectful to the taxpayer dollars.
I like that. That's a good parting word by Don Pizzette right there.
There we go.
I think most people would probably agree with you there. Well, hopefully they figure out a solution to this, because I would imagine if they continue to issue electronic devices like this, they're going to continue running into this problem. It's not like kids are not going to become responsible overnight. So hopefully they find a solution to this.
How do we get those admins to care, Don?
I feel bad for the admins, because the admins are probably wanting to do this stuff.
and whoever's in
being
charge of
stopped.
it's not doing it.
Yep. Yeah.
Golly.
That happens a lot.
Making me mad.
Well, then we'll
Let's
go
move
ahead
on.
We'll go ahead and move on then before Daniel gets too upset. I made mention earlier of an article having to do with a washing machine. So we've arrived. This comes to us from Tom's Hardware. Your washing machine could be sending 3.7 gigabytes of data a day. LG washing machine owner disconnected his device from Wi-Fi after noticing excessive outgoing daily data traffic. So was somebody like Bitcoin mining on his washing machine?
So I'll ruin the end of the story. We don't really know. He doesn't know what this traffic was, right? But he happened to notice that his washing machine was uploading about 3.5 gigs of data every single day, just constantly
seems a
throughout the
lot.
day. It is a lot, right? If that was just like raw text, say it's telemetry data for the
That's
machine.
an insane amount of data.
It is. The entire text of the Encyclopedia Britannica is under 1 megabyte.
I
Right?
wonder if it was
So-
obviously it's an IoT device. I wonder if it was compromised.
And he suspects that might
Yeah.
be it. But the takeaway for this for me was not like don't buy LG washing machines, or this guy got hacked or whatever. It was the fact that at least he was monitoring outgoing traffic. So few people do that.
That was my next question, is like, how did he know? He just happened to be like, I monitor my outgoing traffic to see how much data I'm uploading.
Now, I don't think of myself as an overly paranoid person, but I do monitor outgoing traffic in my home network.
Yeah. What do you use?
So I have a firewall,
Okay.
which is a pretty sweet firewall, and it does a lot of things. And I have a rule in it that just says, if you see an upload over 100 megabytes, send me an alert. and I get an alert on my phone
Every
and,
time I watch your Plex server.
yeah. So actually, that's true. So when somebody watches my Plex server, it'll set that off, and I'll get a message, and I just clear it, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
Other times I'll look at it, and I'm like, what is that device? And it does reverse DNS lookups on the IPs, so I have an idea of where the person is that this is going to. If I see it like, hey, you just uploaded 1 gig to China.
Yeah.
Well,
No, I didn't. Well, I shouldn't have.
there's
That's a
something I
problem.
need to look at, right? But if I see that I uploaded a gig to Microsoft Azure, well, then I'm like, okay, well, that might have been my OneDrive syncing.
Yeah.
And did I just drop about a gig of data in the OneDrive? Oh, I did, right? So I can see that and I know it, but I assume most people don't do that. Do you monitor your outbound traffic?
Not like continuously, no. I do like random samplings. I'll be like, yeah, let me take a look. Let me take a snapshot of what's going on right now and see what's up. And I'll just run a Wireshark capture and start looking at, and I'll run some scripts that help it to, do some reverse DNSing and all that stuff.
Yep. Sophie?
One of my first thoughts on this was, why does the washing machine need to connect to anything at all?
Because it's an IoT device.
But it's right, yeah. And but I'm thinking, like, what are you needing to download or upload? Like, but I guess you can download presets for different types of apparel. So the washing machine has like different cycles and settings it'll use.
Other than wash.
Right. Yeah.
My mind went a whole different way when she said, like, why does it need to upgrade? I immediately thought of Star Trek V. Why does God need a starship? So you haven't seen that one, but
no.
She's never seen anything.
He allegedly meets God, and God wants the Enterprise, and he's like, well, wait a minute. Why does God need a starship, right? He's supposed to be able to do stuff.
It's an Abraham-style test. That's what it was.
So yeah, the idea here with a internet-connected washing machine. So we actually have an internet-connected washing machine at home, and I have that stuff turned off. Yeah. And the reason is it's supposed to be able to connect up so you can download washing profiles. Mm-hmm. So like, your normal washing machine has delicates, whites, colors, like you flip between the different modes, what you want to do. And then you can get all these extra ones you can download and store, and it can report back diagnostic information. So if something's going wrong, you can get an alert, but all that stuff is stupid.
Yes.
So I just block that again on the firewall. I don't allow that one to go out. But in my house, between things like that washing machine, our Amazon Echoes, our Roku devices, my wireless access points, all this stuff is internet connected. And you'd be surprised how much data you send out to other people without even knowing it. Like,
that's right.
You need to monitor outbound traffic.
Or at least throw like a pie hole on your system, like something easy lived that will just start dropping a lot of that traffic to Nowheresville. And then at least you're not sending it out.
Yeah. I get frustrated with my Echoes and Ring cameras because they're Amazon. Yeah. And they phone home and upload, like the Ring cameras upload video all the time. So I expect high traffic there. But because they go into AWS, and AWS is open to the world, really, I don't actually know, is it truly uploading to Amazon, or is it uploading to, President Medvedev or whatever in Russia, General Medvedev, whatever his name is.
It was funny last night. My wife and I were getting ready to go to sleep, and we were talking about something, and she randomly thought, is Alexa listening to what we're saying? And she very quietly, and Alexa is like in the bathroom, which is a good 15 feet away and in another room. And she goes, about this loud, Alexa, what's the weather? She's like, it is 45 degrees. I was like, holy crap. Yeah. That thing can hear you.
And it can do some creepy stuff. Have you tried whispering to it?
Oh, I've heard about the whisper thing. Yeah. You say, Alexa, whisper. And it'll whisper back.
I don't like that at all. Yeah. That's uncomfortable.
Or if you just whisper to it,
it'll whisper back.
It'll know you're whispering and it'll do the same. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm surprised you have an Alexa in your house.
Dude, I've got like 3 or 4.
You
my wife
are the last person.
Listen, happy wife, happy life. As they say.
You know what? Hey, that's fair.
She loves those things.
They are handy.
I'm not a fan.
They're convenient.
Back in the pre-Plex days, I had a Windows Media Center.
Oh, yeah.
And a Windows Media Center edition and all that stuff. And it was funny in the forums, people would always describe the things they were doing to get the setup for TV. And they always had what they called the WAF that they would have to measure, which was the wife acceptance factor. And you could only have so much technology before the WAF started to go down.
That's right.
You couldn't do it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. I imagine someday I'll understand, but for now, I don't have a wife, so I can't really say one way or the other.
One day.
Well, sure, yeah, that's on my to-do list. So it looks like towards the end of this article, they do add this thing in there that says, it could very possibly be something relatively innocent. It might not be, oh my gosh, you've been hacked. It could just be an issue with the ASUS router firmware. So I guess the hope is that maybe that's all it is, and
it's not sensational enough.
And to give you some context, it says usually these appliances will use less than 1 megabyte per day, and this guy was seeing 3.7. So just to give you a little context for the increase there, hopefully it's something innocent. Hopefully
now, what would have been cool is if he measured whether or not his clothes were getting cleaner, and he was like, "Heck yeah, keep them to
yeah.
This is good, man. My clothes are sparkling clean."
Would this actually affect, other than just, if somebody was using his machine to do something nefarious? Would it affect his power bill or anything like that?
No, probably not power bill,
no.
but
if he had data caps or something though, could.
And most people with broadband have less upload than they do download, right? You get a big download speed and a small upload speed, so it could impact upload. But most people aren't uploading at all, really. So it's not a big deal.
Okay. Well, then I would assume we probably won't see this on Deja News anytime soon.
I
Unless
doubt
his washing machine is a C2 server for some a-hole in North Korea.
I'm sure LG will ignore it, right? Because there's no benefit in them responding to this at all. And if it's not doing it anymore, or if it was an ASUS router issue, then he's just not going to be able to track it down. And that is a challenge we have today. Is when you see this traffic, it's almost always encrypted now, right? So it's using TLS, and you can't see what that traffic is like you used to. It used to be you could run a protocol sniffer, capture it, look at it, and figure out what was going on. Now it's a lot harder.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll end this first half of Technado there. I think that's as good a place to stop as any. But we do have more coming up. We're going to talk about some breaches, some 0 days, and some big money payouts. So don't go away. We'll see you right here on Technado in just a few minutes. Tired of trying to schedule your team's time around in-person learning? Isn't it a bummer to spend thousands of dollars on travel for professional development? What if we said you can save money and time and still provide your team with the best training possible? The answer to your woes is live online training from ACI Learning. With live online training, we provide our top in-person courses in private, online, instructor-led formats. You get to provide professional development in a manner that fits today's expectations. Entertaining, convenient, and effective. Our exam-aligned courses inspire the full potential of your team. Visit virtual instructor-led training at ACI Learning for more info. Welcome back for our security news segment here on Technado. Real quick, just want to thank y'all for watching. If you're enjoying this episode, feel free to leave a like, comment down below, let us know what you want to see in the future. And if you haven't already, maybe even subscribe if you're watching on YouTube, or hit that follow button if you're listening on a podcast platform so you never miss an episode of Technado in the future. Like I said, this is the security half of our show, and I would ask if they're ready, but they're always ready. So we'll just go ahead and jump right in. Our first segment today is Who Got Pwned?
Looks like you're about to get pwned.
Fatality.
Yeah!
So this article comes to us from Security Week. Laptop maker Framework says customer data stolen in third-party breach. I warned you we were going to talk about some breaches today. So personal information was stolen at a data breach at its external accounting partner. What are the details we need to know on this?
Yeah, this is another example of a phishing attack. Although I believe, well, no, it is straight up phishing attack. Yeah. So what happened here is Framework, if you're not familiar with them, they make modular laptops that are completely able to be repaired. They sell all the parts, which is great. You can even upgrade them. I like them. I've bought a couple of Framework laptops over the years, and they've made a bit of a name for themselves in that space. And they're definitely a company founded on technology and engineering, not accounting. And so, like many startups that are out there, they have leveraged an external accounting firm. In this case, a firm called, what are they called? Like Kent
Keating?
or something. Keating, that's it. Keating Consulting. Well, their accountants got a phone call from somebody, not a phone call, got an email from someone alleging to be the CEO of Framework, but in reality was a malicious threat actor, right? So they forged an email and sent it into the accounting firm, and they said, hey, I need to get a list of all outstanding payments for laptops. Give me a list of what customers have not completed their transaction yet, any outstanding invoices. And the accountant said, okay, and put it together and emailed it to that outside threat actor. Well, that means it was a spreadsheet that contained names, email addresses, and how much money was due, right? Now, if you think about it, how would a threat actor use that data? And I know how I would use it, which is if I look on here and I see Daniel's name and it says that he's pre-ordered a laptop for $2,000, even if it says he's paid it, right? I might call Daniel and say, hey, I'm Bob Smith with Framework, and it looks like your payment was declined for your pre-order. And we may have gotten some information wrong. Can we just handle the transaction right here over the phone? I can update your payment details. And then you get the payment details from that person. They think they're just fixing their pre-order. They haven't received their laptop yet, so they want to get that updated. And now you've got credit card data. And you can probably do plenty of other things from there too.
But they really like the credit card data. That's their favorite.
That pays.
Yeah, well, we'll take that over. I mean, of course, they could, even if they didn't have the credit card data, if they just got a list of, valid user IDs, they could try to do something like identity theft and that kind of stuff. But obviously, what they really are looking for is to say, hey, I'm posing as the company that is legitimate, that you have an account with, and get you to go, oh, I didn't pay that. Let me pay that now. And of course, they use all the standard social engineering premises and whatnot to get them to believe and feel the urgency to do that right now. Let's take care of that right now, and we can just put this matter to bed and reap the benefits and rewards. Unfortunately, a lot of that money goes to not good things. So I'm not sure if this falls under specifically. I can't remember if business email compromise, that type of attack. I know that definitely if I were to gain access to a CEO or somebody in finance, their actual email account, and then I'm sending emails out from their actual accounts, definitely falls under business email compromise. Yeah. But I want to say, could be wrong on this, that even if I created a very similar looking accounts with, typo squatting or domain fronting or that kind of stuff to look like I came from there. And of course, if I had all the right information, you would still believe and interact with me as if I were that person.
I feel bad for the Framework team because they're a small company.
Yeah.
They're trying to do something different. They're competing against some really big, like Dell and HP and stuff. They've obviously taken steps to make sure that they're secure, but here's a subcontractor that they use. And now it's all over the news. Framework has a breach. When in reality, it's not like hackers were able to penetrate the Framework network and gain access to intellectual property. It was somebody at the accounting firm was a sucker and fell for the phishing attempt.
And probably very unwittingly. Like, it's so funny. You look at red team engagements and pen tests. A lot of times when they are scoping that workout, they will be like, oh, so how about some phishing? We get to do phishing and social engineering. You're like, no. Why not? Because it will work. That's why. We want you to test our technology, not our people. It's like, okay. But in real life land, this is the vast majority of compromises that I see come from there was a phishing link. Yeah. And somebody clicked it, and welcome to breach land.
So the lesson here, I mean, we know we need to train people on phishing. End user security awareness should teach people to be on the lookout for that stuff. That's important. But also, when you look at your company's cybersecurity posture, you need to be looking at your subcontractors as well. I'm actually in a bit of a tiff right now with a subcontractor that we're trying to onboard in our day job.
Really?
Where I asked them if they were ISO certified or if they had a SOC 2 Type 2 report. And their response was, our information security policy completely conforms to ISO 27001, and we follow these practices, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Which is a really long worded way of saying, no, we're not certified. Okay.
Right.
So then I said, okay, well, I have to treat it as if you're not certified. You're not telling me you're not certified, but I have to treat you that way because you're not giving me your certificates.
Yeah.
And so I said, I need you to answer these questions about where you're at with your security policy. Like, what is it that you do? How do you ensure your end users are trained and so on? And one of the questions was on whether or not they had a penetration test done on their network. And they said yes. Well, at this point, my red flags are kind of up and my level of trust is down. And so I said, okay, I would like to see that pen test report. And they said no.
Whoa.
Huh.
And now your trust is way down.
Yes.
In the gutter.
So I said, well, I don't believe he did it. And so if you expect us to be your customer, because we would be the customer at that point, I want to see it. And they said, there's vulnerabilities that are listed in there. And if we gave that to you and we got breached tomorrow, we would think that you did it and we would sue you. And then
No,
you would
you-
have to prove that you didn't do it.
No, you would run an incident response, and they would find that we did not do that.
Well, so no, it's just bullshit anyway. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
to me, it's if there's vulnerabilities in there, you should be showing me that you've already
Right.
patched those.
Right.
Yeah, why would there be vulnerabilities in an old pen test report? That,
Correct.
That's a good question.
Correct. And I think that the truthful side of it, and we'll see. The reason I'm not naming
Yeah.
the company is I don't know yet. I
Yeah.
don't want to like slander
Out them, yeah.
But we'll see. But I think the truth will be that they don't have a pen test.
Yeah.
And
Or
this
it's like some automated scan.
and this is a BS line they've handed to other people, and other people have bought it.
Yeah. I would assume you'd be under NDA with them anyway.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, what purpose would it serve for me to want to do business with you and then just breach you for the fun of it?
Yeah.
Right?
It doesn't
That
make
doesn't
any sense.
make any sense.
No. So, you have to treat your subcontractors. They need to be at the same level of security that you are.
So I'm
And-
sorry. We do have ISO 27001 certification,
We do.
right? And SOC 2 Type 2.
Yep.
We're not the people without the creds here. If
Yeah.
anybody's suspect, it ain't us.
Yeah.
And our SOC 2 report has like 5 things in it.
Right.
So if you skip like all the way to the last page, there's 5 things in there that they found,
Right.
and we fixed all 5 of those things, and that's in the report too.
Yeah.
And so I will gladly share a copy of that with somebody if they
Right.
ask for it.
Because they're fixed.
Yes, and that's how cybersecurity is supposed to work.
Yeah.
You don't find a problem and ignore it.
Wow.
So
That's an interesting little tale you got there, Don.
it
That's-
is. So.
Wow, that's so crazy to be like, well, no, we're not certified. Well, we did a pen test, but no, you can't see it. That's giving like, oh yeah, I cleaned my room, Mom, but no, you're not allowed to look. Just trust that I cleaned it. Like,
Remember that dumpster fire you were referring to earlier?
yes,
This is where the kerosene
Ah.
comes from.
see,
My favorite, and here I'll share this with you guys because I deal with this stuff every day, and I forget sometimes you guys don't deal with
Right,
this. So to
yeah.
me, this is old hat. But you get a subcontractor, and you ask them like, "Hey, are you ISO certified or whatever?" Right? There's all sorts of standards out there.
Yeah.
Are you GDPR, PCI? Are you PCI compliant? PCI DSS? And they say, "Well, we use all AWS servers, and AWS is PCI DSS compliant." Okay, I didn't ask about AWS. I asked about you. Well, no, the AWS. So we're certified because AWS is certified. Well, no, that's not
No.
how it works.
Yeah.
Like you can bring up a Linux server in AWS,
Be totally open.
take the root user and change his password to be blank,
Yeah.
and turn the firewall off.
Yeah. And SSH wide open.
Yeah, you can do that.
Yeah.
And Amazon will not stop you. So they are compliant. You aren't. You
Yeah.
are your own thing.
Yeah.
But you'll hear a lot of companies. You have to be really careful to listen to their language. When you ask them, are you such and such certified? The answer should either be yes or no. If it's anything else, if there's more words,
Right.
they're not. You have to treat it as no.
And you know, you were talking about, they said they had a pen test. I assumed that was a recent thing, but right, it could be a year old. It could be 2 years old.
I would know because they wouldn't
Right,
give it to me.
because they are being really shifty
Yep.
about whether or not that even occurred and letting you have any kind of visual into that.
Another one is, and this is important because people forget all the embargoes we have against Russia right now.
Yeah.
Right. So it used to be that we could get contract developers in Russia. People would do it all the time. It was
Yeah.
just, outsourcing, whatever. Now you can't do that.
Right.
And so when we take on somebody to do development work for us, we have to ask, where's your workforce? Where are they? Right. Are they in the US? And they go, we make sure that you are assigned a project manager in the US.
Not what I asked.
Okay. Well, that's the project manager. Where's everybody else?
Yeah.
Well, they're in various overseas locations.
Earth.
Okay.
yeah,
I need specific locations because if they're in any, there's a whole list of countries we're not allowed to do business with, and so you can't let people snow you over on things like that. Now, I'm way off on a tangent on this, right? But going back to the article, Keating Consulting, they're an accounting firm. I don't know a damn thing about them,
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, apparently they're here in the U.S., but this is a scenario of Framework had what they do to protect themselves, which is apparently working. The accounting firm did not. And so Framework has done a great job with, first off, being very, very transparent about this. They announced it to the public. They told everybody within just a matter of days.
I thought it was even sooner than that. I thought I said like within a half an hour or something. Yeah.
I wonder if-
Framework was made aware of the incident roughly half an hour after the response email was sent, and Keating Consulting was informed of the error. I don't know when they notified their people.
It was a couple of
But
days.
they knew about this quickly, which is good.
Now that, I wonder about that. Okay, so this accountant from another company
Yeah.
gets an email from somebody pretending to be the CEO. they reply to that email. How did Framework find out about that in half an hour?
Someone probably contacted them. Like that was on that little, now that I know you're a legitimate user and have an account with Framework, I'm going to contact you. I would assume that's what happened. Some end user got a vish or whatever. They got called, they got emailed, and they said, something about this doesn't look right. Let me contact them.
Do you think it's possible maybe the person that sent the information that shouldn't have thought about it after he did it and was like, this is kind of fishy. Maybe I should ask somebody about this.
Possible.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah.
Half an hour is fast.
Half an hour is fast.
And so I was like, maybe if they replied to the fake CEO and copied in the CFO or something, like maybe that was it.
Like autofill thing going on. Yeah.
But if I was an attacker, I wouldn't do that. So there's something there. And I read every forum post they did. I did as much research before we started filming today. I could not find out how did he figure it out in half an hour.
Yeah. Would love to see the autopsy on that.
Yeah. And they might share it. I don't know. But that part seems weird to me.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Because if our accountant, we use external accountants, and if those accountants responded to a phishing email, I wouldn't know about it. Yeah. And I wouldn't know about it. And if they fell for the phishing attempt, they wouldn't know about it.
Yeah.
So how would you see it in half an hour? I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe this will appear on Deja News and we'll have some more information about it.
Yeah. That's
going to conclude our Who Got Pwned segment with a lovely aside story time with Dawn, which is my favorite segment. I hope that we reintroduce that. I hope that comes back. But we'll go ahead and move into our next segment. This is one of my personal favorites.
Do.
Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, so,
Do.
I always look for approval, and I don't always get it.
It was dark enough, but it wasn't like punctuated enough, right? Like,
no, there wasn't like a finality to
too
it.
short.
Right. It kind of like, there was too much breath on it.
Okay. I'll work on that.
What does that even mean?
I know what it means in my head, Don.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I'm a voice actor. You
What?
wouldn't get it.
Kill who?
Well, this article comes to us from Ars Technica. Actively exploited 0 days in Ivanti VPN are letting hackers backdoor networks. That sounds like not so great news.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So Ivanti, a cybersecurity company that makes a VPN, what we used to call a VPN concentrator, but an edge device. They have a product called Ivanti Connect Secure, or ICS, and ICS has basically been blown wide open. Like, there is no level of access more than an attacker could have. You
say this like it's a bad thing, Don.
It's a bad thing. If your ICS is connected to the internet, which, by the way, is what it's designed to do, then any attacker can connect to the device without authenticating, have file system write access, and the ability to remote tunnel to gain access to the private network behind it. It is a fully compromised device. Ivanti is aware of this. They have created a patch. It's being tracked with. It's got a CVE number.
Did they get the patch out finally?
They have a patch out, and people need to apply it. So we know how that goes, right?
I saw that they had released a mitigation, but not a patch yet. They said a patch was forthcoming.
I was
there was like a YAML file that you imported, and that was the mitigation for right now. And to employ their integrity checker, they have some sort of integrity checker that checks how many files are in your directory for Ivanti's service. And if there are more or less or file hashes don't add up, it'll kind of report that and go, hey, this is different. And don't use the internal one because the internal one could be compromised.
Could be.
So you have to use the external one that you download and then apply that YAML file. But I saw that like there was no, at least when I read it, this could be right. Totally. That's why I was asking.
This could be breaking news.
An actual patch.
I could have swore that a patch was released, but I could be wrong. So I'm trying to research it right now and find out.
Yeah.
But,
these things happen so fast.
Either way, if they're, I just found the workaround documentation that you were describing, and not the patch. Patch availability. It is. Oh, if I am reading this correctly. I don't think I'm reading this correctly.
They do word it oddly, don't they? Yeah,
you gotta love these
things.
Because it says that the first version of the patch will be available for customers the week of January 22nd. So that's next week,
which is not now.
So so it looks like right now you got the workaround, and that's it.
It's coming.
Good times.
Just keep on waiting.
All right. Well, let's back up a second, because when this first broke, so this is a big deal. When you hear about a VPN appliance or a security device getting compromised like this and blown wide open, that's a big deal, right?
Bad thing?
It's a bad thing.
Okay. Just making sure.
Especially when, in order for the device to function, it needs to be exposed to the internet. That's its job, and so that's bad. But I wasn't familiar with ICS. Actually, it made me think of the old Microsoft product, the Internet Connection Sharing tool.
Didn't
ICS.
Hasn't it been like 10 other product names?
That's the thing. When you back up, if you haven't heard of ICS, you might remember it under its previous name last year called Pulse Secure. We reported on Pulse Secure when it got breached wide open, exactly like what's happening with ICS today. I think that this definitely falls in the fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me. This should be the nail in the coffin for this product.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people talking. One person specifically was saying that they do mergers and acquisitions, and one of the things they look for is, has the company or the product changed names a lot? Because if they had, it's a surefire sign that they are trying to hide previous issues.
Yeah.
Right? So the fact that, this hasn't just been Pulse Secure, it's been a bunch of other things as well.
Yeah, somebody in the comments said formerly Pulse Secure, formerly Juniper, formerly NetScreen, formerly Neoterras. It had like a whole bunch of different names associated with this product.
And they just keep on moving those shells around to get around this. A lot of interesting stuff around this hack, though, as far as like the initial compromise. Obviously, Don, you mentioned that there was an authentication bypass also through their 2FA mechanism. So the hackers were able to bypass not only the main authentication mechanism, but also the 2FA mechanism as well. And then they were able to find a command injection vulnerability once behind that firewall. Once they got that, this is when it got real bad. This is when it turns into like, that's not good. And they were able to backdoor certain functionality within the thing that allowed them to do credential harvesting, which they did a lot of. Once they had more creds, they started pivoting throughout that internal network. From there, they were able to find VHDs that had backups of like an Active Directory domain controller.
Oh, wow.
And in there, they were able to pull out some more credentials,
Yeah.
right? They found also, there was another one that they found, like, domain controller, a Veeam backup.
So now they're not just stealing like a database, they're stealing the whole server.
Yeah,
at
they
that
basically have gone crazy. So they harvested creds from the Veeam backup, right? Then they uploaded their own custom web shell, which is called, I wrote it down because I couldn't remember, Glass Token. 2 versions of Glass Token, which you can find in GitHub.
Nice.
Yeah, so if you're interested in like building up your own little test bed here, you probably can make that happen.
At least the attackers are embracing the open source.
Really? Yeah. Giving back to the community. So yeah, it was a big fat dumpster fire of a hack here. And if you got one of these tools, I feel for you.
Yeah, frustrating.
Well, I can imagine that would be frustrating. We'll send good vibes your way if you're having to deal with this.
But,
good?
From a software standpoint, right? You take like LastPass, where they had their egregious security handling. It's software. So you can just say, you know what, I'm going to cancel that one. We're going to switch to another product, and off you go. But when it's hardware like this, it's implementing your network, it's a lot harder to say, because you got to procure the new hardware. It's going to take you days, weeks, whatever, to get the new hardware. Then you got to install it. There's going to be downtime. It's a lot harder to move between products. So I do feel for anybody who's currently affected for this or by this.
Absolutely. Well, we've done quite a bit of talking about dumpster fires here in this episode. And now we move on to one of our segments where we talk about dumpster fires past. This is Deja News.
Deja News.
So this article comes to us from CNN Business. You might remember, we've talked about it, I think, on the show before, a certain case involving some eBay employees and a bloody pig mask. So it says eBay to pay $3 million after former employees sent live insects and a bloody pig mask to harass a couple. So this is maybe the final installment in this saga?
I believe this will be the final installment.
By the way, the pig mask and what did
insects?
you say? Insects. That was the nice things they sent them.
Yeah. The guide to dealing with the loss of a loved one.
Yeah.
Like
the bestiality material.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was sent to the neighbors.
Yeah.
We're getting ahead of ourselves. So
it was crazy.
So This has been one of my favorite stories over the last couple of years. It's slowly developed and been released.
Yeah.
So let's rewind to the beginning and recap for people who are just now hearing about this, because I think, Sophie, you might be
Sophia.
in that category. So what happened was quite some time ago, eBay. eBay is loved and hated the world around. You know, there are people who have good experience, there are people who have bad experiences. And there was a couple that had sold some stuff on eBay and had gotten jerked around somehow, and eBay withheld more funds or something. And so they wrote up a newsletter telling people about all the bad things that eBay does, all the ways that eBay cheats their customers, and they put it out there. Now, whether true or false, we do have freedom of speech, and unless you're outright lying, you know, for libel, slander,
Or
whatever.
calling for acts of violence.
There's that.
Those are not legal.
Then, you know, it's largely protected speech. And so they put this stuff out there on the internet. And inside of eBay, they had a division of people that were headed up by if I remember right, a former police captain, and, you know, like people that were former law enforcement that were now working in the security division in eBay. And they said, you know what? We're going to get that stuff taken down. And so at first they started threatening ISPs and so on, but then they started focusing on the couple and what they could do to get this couple to back down, to give up their fight and take down this disparaging information on eBay. And these eBay employees, they started doing some really bizarre stuff, like Daniel mentioned, sending in the beginning, it was sending things like live cockroaches in a package to them, or sending a package to the wife about dealing with the loss of a loved one, like, you know, your husband, something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Then, Daniel, you mentioned the bestiality porn. They
You don't remember us having the conversation on whether or not it's bestiality versus bestiality?
I refuse to say bestiality. That's disturbing. And so they sent it to the neighbors.
Yeah.
With
their name
this
on
couple's name on it, like it got misaddressed and stuff. So, like, I mean, this was a straight up harassment campaign, and it's insane to think that a Silicon Valley company
as big as eBay
would do stuff like this. So
obviously, this wasn't a sanctioned action by eBay, though.
Allegedly,
right? Allegedly. I can't imagine it would be in any like world we live in.
So eBay immediately terminated these employees, right? But the employees, they went to court, and those people were saying like, "Hey, we were just doing what we were told," and
wow,
but they weren't.
Yeah,
it's all over the place.
Yeah.
So they got found guilty and they got sentenced last year. But it was yet to be seen what was going to happen with eBay. Now, eBay was being sued in civil court, and it had a maximum fine of $3 million. eBay settled out of court, but they settled for the maximum fine. So they are paying the $3 million to the couple. So good for them.
Don't a lot of organizations do settling out of court so that those, like the findings and things that are said inside of court, are no longer like public?
Right. They usually want to keep it secret, and
right.
eBay's not keeping this one secret. So that's.
So I wonder why they did that.
So.
Just not to have the adjudication against them.
Yeah, and just to stop lawyers' fees.
Yeah.
You know, let's just end this now and close it. We admit it that this all happened. Yeah. These people sucked.
Well, good for eBay.
And well, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I mean, if you had a rogue element inside of your company, it's like Sophia.
And they've accepted to have a not an auditor, what's it called? A monitor? When they assign a person. A independent person has to now work in the company to monitor everything they do to make sure they stay on the up and up for 2 years. And eBay will pick up the salary of that person.
Wow.
They're not an eBay employee, but their job is to make sure eBay doesn't do seedy stuff like this
kind of stuff. Yeah.
So eBay has, pretty much done whatever they could to just say, hey, this happened on our watch, and we'll.
Did they apologize though?
I don't know. And did I talk about that last week?
We talked about that.
It is unfortunate that you were bothered by the events that occurred. Yeah.
We regret that you were offended.
Yeah.
Why don't you say you're sorry?
Yeah.
I don't get it, but I don't know. Actually, it does say, we continue to extend our deepest apologies to the Steiners. So they did apologize. That's close enough for me.
Yeah.
I'll give that
one. In
today's
day and age, that's one.
I will count that. And then it goes on to say, like, since these events occurred, new leaders have joined the company, and eBay has strengthened its policies, procedures, controls, and training. So, all right.
Don't send bloody pig masks to people we don't like.
I'm going to add that to our
You
information
should
security
totally
policy.
throw that in there.
Yeah.
Put that in the new employee training there just to make sure people know.
It's got to be well defined. Like, can you send them live cockroaches,
Yeah.
dead cockroaches? Is that okay? Is
Yeah,
that...
because there's like chocolate colored cockroaches that you can get, and you can eat that.
Oh, we have a plastic cockroach at the house, and we have so much fun with that thing.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many people we have. It costs like 20 cents or something.
Worth every
For
dollar.
a lifetime
Right,
of
yeah.
It
memories.
really is.
Yeah.
If you, listener out there, do not have a plastic cockroach in your home, you absolutely need to get one.
Did you ever see the movie Pacific Heights with
No.
Michael Keaton? It was about this couple that buy their dream home in like San Francisco or something like that, and they renovate it, and then because it's such a big house, and for the to lower the cost for themselves, they rent out the rooms. Michael Keaton is one of their renters, and he locks himself in his room, and they can't get in. They have no access to the room, and he starts like doing crazy stuff, playing loud music, and he infests the place with cockroaches. And all the other renters move out, and they are forced to sell. It's lowered the value, and he buys it. And that's like his scheme. That's what he does. It's like a kind of a suspense, but
Psychological thriller.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting flick.
I've not
It's been a
seen
while
it,
since I've seen that one.
but now I have a plan.
Yeah.
I was going to say, yeah. Now you know how I feel. I've not seen it. So it's interesting to me that this, or not interesting, but just crazy to me that this all started with this woman, I guess, had a blog or a news site or something that was critical of eBay at times. Just imagine being so salty that somebody says something negative about you or your company, and your response is to send them like a fetal pig. Like
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
sensitive do you have to be
Right?
to have that be your reaction to like, you could like insult me personally and like attack my family and my character, and I wouldn't send you a fetal pig. That's like
Yeah.
Sticks
crazy.
and stones, right?
Yeah.
The shocking part to me, like I expect this kind of behavior from random people, right?
Right.
Like a Technado listener out there could hate something I said and
Yeah.
send me a fetal pig, and I'll be like, well, that's the internet, right? I mean,
I signed up for this.
but for it to be like eBay corporate, that's what makes
Right.
this so shocking. Like
That is
these are
crazy.
people who should have known better.
Who were like not military, but
Ex-police,
police
yeah.
officers.
Yeah.
Like, what you're doing is harassment and breaks a bunch of laws. Obviously, you don't care.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Maybe they're used to breaking a bunch of laws.
Maybe.
You basically got to like revamp their hiring practice when it comes to who they put in over that specific place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oof. Well, hopefully this is the last that we hear about this case. Sounds like it's all said and done. This is probably the final installment in that saga.
Yep.
So congrats to that couple for getting as much justice as you can get after going
Yeah.
through the mental exhaustion of that whole ordeal.
With this bit of closure, it's now at the point where they're ready to make the Netflix documentary on it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So-
Netflix doc or Lifetime movie? What do you think would be a better fit?
Netflix.
Netflix?
I'm going Netflix.
Yeah, probably. I mean, Lifetime. There could be a Lifetime angle on it. You know, the elderly couple hiding in their house, terrified. That fits the Lifetime model. But I'm thinking Netflix.
Netflix doc. Okay. Well, then maybe there will be another segment on this when they inevitably do that. I spoke too soon.
It's the article that would never end.
If you are enjoying this episode, if you had a good time hearing us talking about cockroaches and everything else that came up, we'd love it if you like this video, maybe even subscribe if you haven't already. You can always check out all of the previous Technado episodes. They live on the ACI Learning IT Pro social channels, so check those out. We also have ACI Learning webinars and live on social events that live on the channel as well. We had one a couple weeks ago that was an all things cyber webinar. Last week, Don and I had one about getting into IT. I believe there is an audit webinar this week that you might want to check out if you are into that side of things. And we do have webinars every single month. I believe at least 2 or 3 each month this year. So you can always check back for more of those. I think that's pretty much it. I want to thank our sponsor once again, ACI Learning, for sponsoring this show. If you are watching from the IT Pro website or the Technado website, you can click the Sponsored By button to go to the IT Pro website. And you can use that code Technado30 for a discount on your IT Pro membership. That's all I got. Anything from you guys before we wrap this up?
No, it's exciting times. I got to wait for my Lenovo Android laptop to come in. And
I can't wait to go home and watch The Final Sacrifice MST3K.
yeah.
Wow.
I will have to hit up your Plex for that
Wow,
one.
it's on my Plex.
It'll set off your upload alarm.
Yeah, definitely.
And I can't wait to go home and nap. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Technado, and we'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed today's show, consider subscribing so you'll never miss a new episode.